Welcome to Capital Outsider, a show about people and ideas outside the halls of power, exploring alternatives to conventional political wisdom.
Hello, and welcome to Capital Outsider, a show where we give you an outsider's perspective on events. My name's Jeff Russell. I'll be the host tonight. Joining me here is John Finan. He's a businessman and community activist from New York City. He's the CEO of nycrealty.com, and he's running for President of the United States, trying to get the nomination of the Libertarian Party. He says it's time for a fair deal for America and the American people, and he's here today to talk to us about his campaign. So thanks for coming, John. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jeff.
So let's go right back to the beginning here. When and why did you decide to run for president?
Well, when I heard of the different people that were running and I saw the opportunities that were available, some friends of mine suggested to me that because of my past with activism and philanthropy and community involvement, my business acumen, my leadership skills, that it may be something that I should consider. And when I looked at the state of the world and the state of our nation and the position that we're in the world, and my affiliation with the Libertarian Party, it made me realize that we have a situation with economic uncertainty. You have the nation in a time of war, and when you have this unhappiness and uneasiness and discomfort, the citizens of a country are willing to look at an approach that will provide change, will provide hope, and in other climates, this opportunity may not exist. Mm-hmm. So I saw it as a chance for me to support the Libertarian Party, bring libertarian principles and idea to the forefront, and actually have a chance at possibly winning the election and influencing the vote and the mindset of the American people. So that's why I got into it. Uh-huh. And what's occurred is it's snowballing. We're gaining more and more momentum, more and more support. The amount of money that's donated to our website every month is increasing at johnmfinan.com at our website.
Yep. I think they'll be putting that up on the screen sometime.
We're going to try to do that as much as we can, and we'd appreciate you visit. And what I've told my staff is that the success of our campaign is so outstanding that we're not going to stop unless we get a sign of a negative momentum. And we're not having that at all. It's positive momentum. More and more people. We're in the primaries in California. We're getting phone calls, getting emails, text messages. So that's why we're doing it. That's why we're excited and continuing to do it.
Well, what issues are you going to stress in your campaign now?
Well, we need to talk about the issues and talk to the issues that the American people are concerned with. We want to apply libertarian principles to the problems and concerns that are at hand. And the economy, we're going to start with that. That's every poll that you see, that's the concern of the American person right now. They're worried. They're worried about their financial future. Right. They're worried about a plan. And everyone says hope, change. So, we're going to change. We actually have a plan that we have to put in place that takes into account the free market economic principles of libertarianism based on Milton Friedman's work, who is a Nobel Peace Prize winner, and Reaganomics was essentially the work of Milton Friedman. Everyone was happy with the economy during Ronald Reagan's time. And what we're doing is establishing the FICRO initiative, the federal initiative for converting renters to ownership. And with this government bank, we will buy out the subprime loans. We will provide an equity component and a rental component that for a person that would like to own their own home, equity and a loan, and we'll give all Americans the opportunity to be homeowners, creating a transfer of wealth to the individual person. And this is a correction. This is in order to bring wealth to the people. We're going to use the same bank to buy out and have people refinance their subprime mortgages that are creating a catastrophe worldwide. So these people will be able to own their homes and keep in their homes. And all of this interest money, it's a one-time initiative, all the interest earned will be put into the Social Security system and replenish that, which, of course, will become the Social Security will be by choice rather than a deduction from your paycheck automatically. It was supposed to be choice. You're not supposed to be having to be in Social Security.
Right. Well, a lot of people say Social Security will be broke by the time it's time for them to collect it.
And our economic...
Younger people...
they're worried about this, and older people are too.
And I think that there's some truth to that if something isn't done soon... And as a matter of fact, that's one of the questions I wanted to ask you about is Social Security. You know, it's called the third rail of American politics. But so I keep hearing 2012 as the date where the Social Security Fund will have to start paying out more money than it's taking in. Up till now, it's been taking in more than it's paying out, and so that's going to be kind of a tipping point.
Well, this program that we're talking about, this FICRO initiative, will allow people who rent to actually own their own homes. It will cure the subprime mortgage crisis, and the interest will go into replenishing Social Security. And it's a one-time effort. We're about free market economy. We're about cutting back farm subsidies. We're about ending the expenditures on war, saving hundreds of trillions of dollars over a 15, 30-year period going on. We're about cutting back government agencies. Okay. At the Cato Institute, I had a manual presented to me that is the steps necessary to dismantle a government agency. And it's been available to 7 presidencies, and no one has ever utilized it. And I plan on implementing this. So we have in our economic proposal, and further in our campaign we'll be showing the spreadsheets and pie charts, we have it available that we can give in 2012 every American citizen a $250,000 check tax-free, one-time initiative, tax-free, and save hundreds of trillions of dollars through the cutbacks in the farm subsidies, welfare programs, agencies.
These numbers sound kind of incredible to me.
And I'll have you on another one of our shows, and I will demonstrate these. And we have these numbers worked out. So
2012, that's only 4 years away.
Well, we have these numbers. This is Milton Friedman's free market. These are Reaganomics. We're talking about letting people own their own homes, transfer wealth to the individual, and in 2012, a one-time initiative. And this is a correction. This is not a nanny state. This is a correction to give people hope. They know the change is coming. We're going to drive wealth down, but at the same time, fix the economy through these initiatives. That will put our country back on track financially, in the way that our founding fathers meant through libertarian market principles.
Okay. Well, your website, as you mentioned before, is johnmfinan.com. Yes. And if they're paying attention to us out there, they'll flash that up on the screen occasionally as you're talking, johnmfinan.com. Oh, there it is right there. Okay.
Lovely.
Just once in a while they'll flash that. People can go to your website. And in fact, I was talking to you before the show saying that I've been going over your website, and you had quite a bit of things there about the issues, and I wanted to talk to you about some of the things you had on your website. Let's start out with the biggie, the war in Iraq. What are you going to do about the war in Iraq? Well, when you're elected president, what's going to happen?
Well, I was in a debate with Steve Cubby, another Libertarian presidential candidate, a couple weeks back. We got into this quite heavily. You have to do what the people want, which is end the war. the people want the war ended. It's a libertarian platform position regardless. Mm-hmm. We try to stay out of international conflict. We want to protect ourselves. We want to have that ability. Ending the war, and Steve and I got in a little bit of an argument about this, because you can't promise that you're going to have everybody out of there and that infrastructure out of Iraq in a 2-month period. You can't move an apartment in 2 months. We have multiple years. We have infantry troops. So do we want to stop moving forward on the war? Yes. Is it our position to end it and get out of there and cut the expenditure? Yes. That's my position. That's what the people want also. I also want to roll back the executive privileges that have been used illegally, and so that you can't have this happen again. When Congress votes on a war, you don't label a war a peacekeeping mission or put it under another label so that you can go in there on executive orders. All of these executive orders, executive powers, they infringe on our freedom. Mm-hmm. And when I'm president, I'm going to end the war. I'm going to pull our military out of there. I'm going to leave an industrial component and an economic component to help rebuild there. But we're going to get the soldiers out, and we're going to make the policy so that it's when Congress votes to go to war, which is representative of what the people want, that's the way that it needs to be handled. So that's my position on the war. We have Iran.
Right. I was kind of going to ask you about
this
that
all
next.
goes to that next. This is all dovetailed together. This is all dovetailed together. The president of Iran visited New York City, where I live. He was received in a strange fashion at Columbia University. I think you need to use diplomacy as much as possible. People want peaceful solutions. They want leaders who can create a peace without using the military. And if the man would like to speak, you have to engage him, you have to meet with him, and use these diplomatic tactics. Our enemies that were our enemies during the Cold War were in a far less precarious position internationally than we were at the end of the Cold War. Our enemies at that point, China and Russia, are carrying on in a fashion that's distinctly American in flavor now. You have Starbucks. They're domestically, financially, economically, socially, we're interacting with one another.
Right.
And if we can get to that point with our adversaries now, without the war portion, Cold War or hot war, this is how I'd like to handle the diplomatic efforts of the country in the future. Okay,
let me just ask, looking at your website, speaking of Iraq and Iran, on your website you said, withdraw our military immediately from Iraq. But you're just speaking about the president of Iran, and on your website you say either he stops what he's doing immediately or he faces swift consequences. And I'm just wondering, what is it exactly you want him to stop, and what consequences? On your website you even kind of jokingly refer to enhancing their nuclear program by delivering nuclear bombs.
I do that.
Now, would you seriously consider using nuclear weapons?
I don't think nuclear weapons are going to be used again. Hot nuclear weapons.
As president, would you consider using them?
What I see, though, is that the man says, the president of Iran says some things that are inflammatory. Mm-hmm. And if he is going to threaten our allies and our country and carry on like that, he's making efforts to speak and communicate. If that's possible, fine. If he's going to say that he wants to use nuclear weapons against Israel and blow it up Israel is our ally. We have a lot of Jewish people in the United States. He threatens the United States of America with similar rhetoric. So you need to speak with people and use diplomacy, but at the same time, as the the United States, you have to be willing to protect your country, and you need contingency plans to do this if need be. And I do joke. I make a comment on the website, and and the people like it that I speak to. They like what they hear. Different people in the country would like to do something extreme to the country, but you need to really you need to have your basis to protect the country. But diplomacy is what the people are saying they want right now. The people want diplomacy. There's a nuclear weapon, the neutron bomb, that was invented by Sam Cohen. He received a citation for the Pope for making this weapon. It's the most efficient, effective, humane weapon. So a neutron bomb is something that is in production. When you talk about threatening Israel also, it brings up the R2P, the responsibility to protect. Are you familiar with this? That was voted on in the United Nations?
I think so, yeah.
And R2P, everybody voted on that, and now you have a genocide going on in Darfur.
Right.
And nobody wants to step in and help with a genocide. And I think Israel, would be the first people to be responsive to this, and they're not getting involved in that problem. And I think the R2P is something that needs to be, while we're talking this whole Israel-Middle East conflict, R2P and stopping a genocide that's occurring right now in Darfur should be at the top of the list. And it's been, since 2005 that's been in place, and nobody is enacting on the responsibility to protect. And this is something that I think needs to be talked about also, since I think they dovetail together nicely, so I'd like to bring that in there to you.
Yeah. Well, some other things on your website, or another thing that I thought was kind of unusual, aside from the jokes that you have out there. Most candidates don't have that. You had one of the issues was the right to bear arms. And when I went to the other issues and read what you had to say, you had the typical stuff, a paragraph, 2 paragraphs, whatever. But when I went to the little link for the right to bear arms, it had one word: yes. So, do you want to expand on that?
Well, the right to keep and bear arms is a very strong part of the Libertarian Party platform.
Right.
And its membership feels very strongly about that. The gentleman that we were speaking with earlier that I met at the Long Island Convention, they were very vocal about how important that was to them. And the right to keep and bear arms was put in place so that the people could form a militia to protect themselves from an enemy, from one another, from the government itself, if need be. This was the concept behind that. And I talked to Steve Cubby about this also during our debate. I don't think that the people, the general populace, the voting populace of the United States of America, want to see a lot of guns freely floating about urban centers. And Mayor Giuliani and Mike Bloomberg have had some significant success in lowering the crime rate, lowering the number of shootings, the number of killings. This is important. The people, they want to be safe. The mothers want to be safe. I was speaking to Christy Brinkley.
Right. So how would you ensure their safety?
Well, I was speaking to Christy Brinkley at the Hampton Classic, and she told me the safety of her children is the most important thing for her. And clean air, safe streets, safe cities, good food from sustainable food sources, free of pesticides. So, yeah, I think people should be allowed to have guns. I think that in urban centers, there needs to be a high degree of caution in use of allowing the Second Amendment to be used in its purest form.
Right. I mean, you live in New York City, right? As far as I know, you can't have any, a private citizen cannot own any firearm at all. I mean, not even a
Well,
shotgun.
If you have certain licenses or carry money, there's different ways. In essence, Mike Bloomberg has some good ideas with ballistics that I like, that make a lot of sense to me. That you have traceability on weapons and where the shell came from, some traceability on. If you're going to be allowing more free guns, people feel more responsible of their use of a weapon if they know that it's going to be tracked to them how they did that. Even these tasers, you know the tasers?
Yeah.
When you shoot these tasers, you've been tased?
No, but I shouldn't be laughing. I've been following some of the stories, and they're not funny.
They're not funny.
I see these people, being tasered for apparently minor reasons.
Well, when a taser's shell is discharged, thousands of little chips with who bought that taser ammunition, what have you, are dispersed, and they track who purchases each charge. So something similar to that with the guns is something that I think would have to be put into place. But last year at Christmas, we donated a Christmas tree to our building in Midtown Manhattan. And we like to see the Christmas tree as a symbol of international community and peace. And we wanted to make sure we talked about that as well as guns and war during the show.
Well, right. Another big topic that libertarians are famous for, or maybe infamous for, is their stand on drugs. I mean, the Libertarian Party is very opposed to the current drug laws that we have. So, how do you go about explaining this position, or what is your position on the drug war? How would you handle it?
Again, I think that our party needs to be. They need to steer clear of seeing to be the party of guns and marijuana. You're asking me the pointed question on it. I think that marijuana should be legalized. I think it should be a crop in this country. We're talking about cutting farm subsidies. I think it would be a nice way to fill in that void. We legalize this, we tax it, we control the distribution, the education. It becomes part of the taxable gross economic product. Low taxes on these things, but still part of the gross economic product of the United States of America, rather than overseas terror organizations growing these drugs and importing them. And I talk to people from all political parties, and a majority of them share this. It's not just a libertarian idea.
Well, libertarians, they support the legalization of all drugs, not just marijuana. That they would say heroin should be legal, morphine should be legal, LSD, crack. And that's why the Libertarian Party takes so much flack sometimes for their position.
And I think the freedoms of these things is very good. Marijuana, definitely. We need incrementalism in adopting the party's ideology. We need incrementalism in adopt. And I say that in every speech that I make. And I think the legalization of marijuana is something that people want to speak about and hear.
Well, we've only got a few minutes left. I just want a couple of quick questions here. Why should the Libertarians nominate you? That's the first thing that has to happen, right? That the Libertarians have to nominate you at their convention in May. And there are actually several candidates who are running. Why should they nominate you over all the others?
Well, in actuality, if you look at my statistics that we put up on our website, the ability for me to be elected, my appeal to young Americans, getting someone in the front of the Libertarian Party that's going to stick with the party. I'm 43 years old. I can have many elections. And I think it would be very good for the party. I think I would represent the party well, and I would make the best candidate for the Libertarians to elect.
And assuming you do get the nomination, have you thought about a running mate?
Well, I've approached Mike Bloomberg. I've approached Senator Bruno. I've talked to some famous celebrities who've asked me not to name them that are considering. I've talked to Steve Cubby about running with him. I sent a letter to Ron Paul to see his interest. So we have a few people who we're courting, and these are the people that I'm thinking about running with, high-profile celebrity-type people.
And if you do get the nomination of the Libertarian Party, how do you convince the general population to vote for you? You know, we have the third party syndrome where they say, "Oh, you're wasting your vote."
We're gonna do the types of things I've done with the Plaza Hotel, the types of things that I've done with the work in my own businesses. Very creative, guerrilla marketing type, cost-effective approach. A new type of campaign that people will know the Libertarian Party, and it will put our party on the map the way that I can run a campaign.
Okay, well, we're running out of time here. We have just about a minute left. Well, why don't you just give us a quick wrap-up, and then you have a friend of yours you want to introduce.
I also have with me today a friend of mine who's an American singer-songwriter, Rob Cannillo, and he's written a campaign song that embodies the ideology of johnmfinan.com. We offer a fresh deal for the American people. We offer hope, change, economic prosperity. We are Giants fans. I got Rob Cannillo sing our song for us, and Jeff, thank you very much for having me on the show with you.
You're welcome.
On this highway that we call life, you will witness sorrow and pain. You will witness pure hatred, too many horrible things to name. But you will witness sweet compassion, tender kindness in God's name. I can hear you calling, baby, heed this warning. It's not too late for us. Baby, heed this warning. It's not too late for us. On this road that we call life, you will witness greed and rage. You'll be tempted to look away now, but you must not turn the page. 'Cause you will witness acts of loving so sweet you can't explain. I can hear you calling, baby, heed this warning. It's not too late for us. Baby, heed this warning. It's not too late for us. No, no. I can hear you calling, yes I can. Baby, heed this warning. I can hear you calling. I can hear you calling. Calling, baby, I can hear you calling.